It seems to be South Africa's week for America. Not such good news coming out of the State Department. Response from Pretoria, as predicted, I guess, but that's politics. But what was really interesting was earlier this week, I spoke with Mary Vilakazi, who's the CEO of First Rand, and she said, just try and ignore the politics, because actually where the tacky hits the tar in the relationships between South African businesses and American businesses, and indeed with American technocrats, things are solid. And earlier this week, I spoke with the local head of Walmart. Today, it's the local head of the big mover in South Africa, Amazon, and Robert Koen joins us. Okay, it's a very South African name, Robert. So I've looked at your CV. You have traveled internationally. You've worked a lot in the UK and clearly in the US as well before coming back home 3 years ago. But just take us on that journey as a South African who looks to maybe feel their or test themselves in the global environment.
Yeah, Alec. Really, my journey is looking for some of that international experience, and having lived and worked in the UK and the US, but I think South Africans have a really good reputation internationally. And, I've always remained very much a South African, passionate about my home country. And so when the opportunity came up to come back to South Africa and bring the amazing Amazon experience to South African shoppers, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was such a great opportunity, and very, very pleased I took it, to come back here.
And the Amazon investment into South Africa is significant. We know about the controversy over the head office, which seemed to have been stirred up by, well, let's not call them bad agents, but it was very interesting people with a strange approach towards it. That's behind you now, but it's a big investment.
I think what a lot of South Africans don't realize is that Amazon has been in the country for over 20 years. Deep investment. EC2, which is the compute portion of AWS, was actually a lot of the coding started here in Cape Town, started in South Africa. And off the back of that long-term investment, we've invested billions of dollars into the country, local data centers or points of presence in the country. And it extends even beyond that. We have a solar farm up in the Northern Cape, supplying electricity into the grid. We have a skills center that is providing skills training, mainly on the cloud, even AI fundamentals, cloud certification. And that's completely free to any South African who is looking to get certified on cloud or learn more about AI. And those are classroom-based classes. So, deep investment, very, very deep roots, and very much a South African organization in the country.
Have you moved into your new head office in Cape Town?
We moved in about a year ago. So, very much in the new office.
And working for you, working well?
So, Alec, we actually moved. We had moved into the Cape Town office. But I think what is also important is we do have an office up in Johannesburg, and we do have staff right across the country, all 9 provinces. So although we have this facility, we're very much across the entire country.
How's it going with just on the consumer area before we go into more of the business story with Amazon Prime? I've been an Amazon Prime supporter for many years, and we spent time in the UK where it works brilliantly, and then come to South Africa. Hey, man, there are a lot of movies that you can't see here. It says not available in this area. Is that to do with the license agreements that perhaps MultiChoice had set up?
Yeah, so I know, Alec, we have a lot of, huge Prime fans. I'm one of them. Love the experience and having experienced it in the UK and US over many years. I can't comment specifically on the content that is produced for Prime Video, but a lot of times it has to do with rights issues, specific to certain countries. But I know the team's working hard to make sure that there is the content that our customers love and want in the country.
And how long have you now been offering the Amazon delivery experience that is so well used in the US and in the UK and other countries here in South Africa?
So we launched the online store in May of 2024. So it's just over a year, and we're getting amazing feedback from our customers who just love the experience. Love the speed of it, but also just the reliability of that delivery. And we're working continually just to enhance that, all the time.
Has it achieved the milestones that you've set out? Because it is a pretty competitive area.
Oh, hell yeah. If I could use the technical term, we've knocked it out the park. We're very, very pleased with the performance, especially for Black Friday. Exceeded all our expectations. And I think most importantly is just the feedback from the customers has been fantastic. I spend a lot of time in our call centers working with the associates and, looking at some of the feedback. But customers love the speed. They love the value for money, just getting, great deals and great general value across the entire store, and just the experience overall. So great feedback, and we're very, very pleased with how it's going.
How long have you been with Amazon?
Nearly 11 years. 5th of January, it'll be 11 years. So go quite some time.
And so you're not what one would call an inkomer when certain people move provinces in South Africa. So you're pretty much in the Amazon way. How important is the stuff that Bezos, the culture that Bezos instilled right from day one, as he calls it?
Yeah, really, really critical. And I'm glad you used the word day one, because, we have a strong set of leadership principles which help guide the team. And these are not just leadership principles that are up on a wall somewhere in the organization. These are leadership principles that are deep in the DNA, deep in everything that we do, every meeting, every discussion that we're having, like customer obsession. So that's just one example of one of those leadership principles. But it's also this day one culture. We're a startup and we run like a startup. And so everything we're trying to do is let's focus on the customer. How do we get the experience a lot better for the customer and bringing that culture in? But I will say, as we've been building the culture in South Africa, because we're mainly a South African team, we're a local South African team run by South Africans. And so building that culture, but at the same time, we want to be authentically South African. And so we came up early in this process. I came up with the payoff line of, relentlessly day one, but authentically South African. And it's kind of tough to get that balance right. But, what we really want is to make sure that any South African from any background, any sort of, we're a very diverse kind of country, but can find, feel at home and feel that the experience really speaks to them and is one that is authentic to what they're looking for as a shopper.
Robertson, a small town in the middle of nowhere where a wine farmer claims to have sold a Volkswagen up to We Buy Cars. A farmer. What car did you really sell them?
A VW up.
Right here in Robertson.
Small town, but we know about We Buy Cars.
Yeah, but what's a farmer doing with a VW up?
It was just a runaround.
Cool cover story. And I see you traded it in for this, like a double cab Renault. Were they all out of ranges?
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
And I'm sure that's really important in a nation where not all homes are accessible to deliveries, which is, of course, the core of your offering.
Yeah, but right from the get-go, we deliver to everywhere in South Africa. And when I mean everywhere, everywhere. And it's actually quite exciting, Alec, to look at a heat map of the country and to see, it's by postcode and see all the different postcodes where we deliver. But, Eastern Cape, middle of the Eastern Cape, rural KwaZulu-Natal, Alex, Tembisa, up in the Northern Cape, it's just about everywhere we are getting product to customers. And that's our intent, is we really want to be here to serve all 62 million South Africans. This is not about just a general, a small set. we're here for all South Africans, and we want that value that we bring to be accessible to all South Africans.
I remember writing a piece while we were in the UK, we were there from 2016 to 2019, saying that Jeanette had ordered a marker for the whiteboard through Amazon, which cost £1.20 or something. And it arrived the next morning. There it was, this one single little marker. And it baffled me how you can do that and not lose a fortune of money on a delivery like that. How does it all work out?
Yeah, I think, Alec, we do offer free delivery actually to South Africans right now. So you can order a tube of toothpaste or a bag of Iwisa or whatever you're looking for, and we'll deliver it just about anywhere. But I think, part of this comes from, most customers or many customers are not just ordering one item. It's the toothpaste together with some sunlight liquid and some firelighters and maybe a iPhone cable or something like that. So, a lot of people are shipping multiple things in a box. And then we have certain technology that is where we're trying to consolidate shipments where it makes sense. And, hopefully we're delivering to your neighbor as well. So, that also helps us with the, making it work and making it. But that's kind of our secret sauce. Those are the things that we focus on. Customers should just enjoy the experience.
And the relationships, the partnerships here in South Africa, again, going back into conversations I've had. Gerrie Fourie was enthusing at one point, the former CEO of Capitec, about how he had engaged with Amazon and learned so much, and in fact also shared some secrets with Amazon too, but that it was a really open relationship, an open discussion. And I got the sense from him that he was quite surprised, actually, that you were prepared to share trade secrets to that degree. Is that what you guys do with partners around the world? And is Capitec quite unique in this circumstance?
Look, I'm not sure it's sharing trade secrets. We're very, very careful about the customer data and confidentiality. So just to make sure that's clear. But I think some of the partnerships, as you put it, that work really well for us are our two last mile partnerships, the Courier Guy and DPD Laser, where I think it is a magical combination of this, our own technology that is, we've used it in, across many, many, many countries around the world, but blended with that South African experience and knowledge of last mile delivery. And I think it's a magical combination. But, we have multiple parts of the business, and, I know, other parts of the business are working very closely with a number of corporates in the country, and share very, very deep partnership with those companies.
How is an American company different at its core to a South African one? And I ask this because talking to Dries Doga from Walmart earlier this week, he was saying, I asked him about competitors, and always in the South African context, people talk competitors and what are you worried about, Checkers and this and Pick and Pay and Woolworths. And he said, I'm actually not really focused there. I'm focused on my customer. And I know from Amazon it's the same thing, that Bezos has been saying this since he started the company in his annual reports. It's all about the customer. For South Africans, it sounds a bit like a marketing spiel. But maybe you are South African, you do know South African businesses. How is there this difference? And what could the more progressive businesses in this country learn?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if it's the American way, but it's certainly the Amazon way, is the customer obsession. But I think it's quite a misunderstood term, because it's and many of the companies, including American companies that I've worked for, where they say they're customer obsessed, but if you don't match that customer obsession with a long-term view, so very often you're getting to the end of a quarter, end of a year, and you've got a number to make. All of a sudden, customer obsession's out the window, and you're going to do what's best for the company, not the customer. Amazon's very, very different in the way we approach it. We would rather miss a number. We would rather, it's about that customer. It's about giving that customer a great experience. And that comes from embedding some of these mechanisms that we have internally of really listening very carefully. It's all about listening to the customer. And so I spend an inordinate amount of time in our call center, which is in the same complex here, but sitting with the associates. And it's really the way I look at it is every single call to the call center is a defect. But you've got to run that down as to, okay, why did they call? Did they not have the information? They couldn't access the information, or there was something that went wrong somewhere in the network? And the team will then work through to try and root cause. Can we get to the real root of that challenge so that the experience is a better one for our customers going forward? And there are many, many examples. I mean, I've worked for many US companies, but Amazon, I think, is very unique in that it's easy to say, but it's a lot more difficult to build that into your mechanisms and make that part of your DNA and everything that you do.
You've mentioned associates. I know Walmart does the same thing. They don't call people employees or staff. They call them associates. Is that a big deal?
No, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just some of the internal terminology that we use. I mean, we also refer to all Amazon employees as leaders because we see one of the leadership principles is ownership. And so having every employee, no matter what your position is, you're a leader because you own that part of the business, that part of the process on behalf of our customer. And so, sometimes there are these little terms that sort of creep in, but employees, leaders, associates, what's important is, again, the customer. That's our focus.
And how many associates does Amazon have in South Africa?
Alec, we have publicly issued some of we're over 5,000 people in the country, so we're a big employer. But we don't break that down into the different teams and how many are on customer support and those type of things. But the stores team, we're a small team. We're a startup in the country. We're early in this journey. It's I think a lot smaller than a lot of people would expect.
And within the company, and I know there's a bit of a tough one to ask you, but with all the stuff that's going on in politics and geopolitics and the noise that we see, including this week, how does that affect people, even if it's just around the water cooler?
Alec, I really don't see the effect. We are here, again, we really as a team, we obsess about looking at what's going on in the business, running the business as it is. And I think, there is a lot of noise out there, but it doesn't impact us. I think we do operate in many, many different countries around the world. And so we're very used to different politics, different geopolitical things happening from time to time. But the best thing we can do is just focus on delivering a great experience for our customer.
You are head of Sub-Saharan Africa. So where else below the Sahara are you operating now or intending to?
Africa is an attractive opportunity. 1.2 billion people, I believe, at the moment, and growing fast. We do have an online store presence in Egypt. And, it's something that is, again, an attractive opportunity. But we are for now, a South African company focused on South Africa and, really making sure that we can deliver for the South African customer. Nothing to announce about going further than that.
And the flywheel, where are you in that process? Again, something that you guys talk about a lot. Well, maybe just explain what the flywheel is first.
Yeah, I think there are three critical components that we know customers want, no matter what country you go to. And that's a great selection of products, broad selection. Customers want to find what they're looking for. They want great value for money, and they want a great experience on the store. And, if we can deliver on those, it's kind of a self-feeding cycle where the more that that we're supplying on those three sort of cores means that it becomes more attractive for sellers, more attractive for customers, and it becomes easier for us to supply and, to grow the selection and continue to give great pricing. So, what we have seen in Black Friday, certainly in Q4, again, great I mean, the prices are fantastic. We're getting great feedback on the value that we offer for our customers and the experience. And so we're excited about that flywheel starting to work for us in South Africa.
And sourcing these suppliers?
We've got two sort of parts of our suppliers. So we have our retail business, which is where Amazon is actually buying the product and selling those. And we've had some really good uptake from, many of the vendors in South Africa. And then we are also building a strong community of sellers who are selling in the marketplace, the third-party business. And that's growing, very, very rapidly. We've had thousands of sellers register, going through the process of, getting them online, helping them to tell their brand story, get good pictures. And we offer a lot of tools, a lot of training to help them to get into the store. So we're very encouraged by the support that we're seeing and the feedback that we're getting.
So if I understand correctly, you've only been at it for just over a year. You've hit it out the park. Things have been better than anticipated. If you were to look back in 5 years' time, what would you rate, or how would you look at your scoreboard to say we've been successful?
I think for me, the most important thing is our goal, our vision is to be the most loved store in South Africa. And that comes from delivering, every touch point that you have with us, every parcel that gets handed over to our customer, every interaction with our contact center. We want them to love that experience and see that it is different compared to anything else. And, looking back, whether it's in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, that is, really what the goal is. And we're seeing that already. There is a big cohort of customers. One of the most encouraging metrics that we look at is repeat purchase. It's fine to get a customer to come and buy, but if you're seeing customers come back again and again and again, that shows that we're doing something right. And we're actually very encouraged by the repeat purchases is a lot higher than we would expect at this stage in the store. So clearly they like the pricing, they like the experience, and they're coming back, which I think is fantastic.
And how separate is the South African store to the UK store, to the US store? And I ask this because I've got an obsession for something called Yorkshire tea. It's just one of those crazy things, which is not in the South African store, but it is in the UK store, which I have to order every few months from them at exorbitant cost for a pretty cheap tea, actually. So is there any integration between them, or it seems from what as a customer that it's kept really separate?
It is separate in the way of, we've got a lot of autonomy to build a very South African experience. What South Africans want, the kind of selection that they want and the experience that they want. We don't want to have this cookie cutter experience that we just bring from another country. But that being said, that is also a great opportunity for one of our sellers. If a seller is listening and saying, hey, there's tea that our customers want, can they go and find a source for that and, bring it into the marketplace? But we're continually listening to those signals of, what are people searching for? What are people looking for? And can we go and find a really good source and make sure that we can get it in and deliver on that promise to you as a customer? So, it's independent, but we do certainly, and we're looking at, pulling experience from some of those countries. We're learning from Brazil, Australia, UAE, all these other countries, helping give us feedback. But really, really critical to us is that it's got to be a South African store run by South Africans in a South African way. That's critical.
When Fabrizio Bloisi, the newish CEO of Process, was talking in with their results, he said one of the greatest advantages for South Africa is that the South African operations of Process can now go and talk to the best in the world in their ecosystem. Do you guys do much of that?
We certainly do a lot of sharing of, best practice and learning. So, I mentioned Brazil. What can we learn from Brazil? What experiments have they done for their customers? What are the things that have resonated there? We take some of our experience. We're doing things that are interesting because we're a very scrappy team and we can do things slightly differently and challenge the norm. There isn't a set way of doing things. We like to try different things and see what's working and continually be innovating like that. So there is quite a bit of that sharing between the different countries, especially in the emerging countries as opposed to Europe and the US.
This is quite an interesting point because in the 60s and the 70s, South Africa was seen as a bit of a test tube by many multinationals for the rest of the world. And I'm wondering if that's still relevant or if it might be coming back.
Yeah, I think, look, I'm always saying to my peers in leadership and in the other countries is, as soon as there's an idea or something that they want to do, hey, let's try it here in South Africa first, because we can move faster. There are various reasons that it makes it easier to try it out here. So we're always looking for those experiments and campaigning for them to try it here before other places. But we're an experimental culture. We love to experiment. We don't mind failing. Not everything works. Some of the ideas don't make it through. But I think you may be onto something, Alec. I mean, we certainly try and push that as much as we can because it's good for the store. It's good for our shoppers.
And from your perspective, you are South African. You are now leading an international brand into this country. There's a lot of hope that the green shoots are starting to come through. Are you experiencing anything like that, given the visibility that you would have of consumers?
From what we see on the consumer side, our business is, as I said, we've knocked it out the park in Q4. It's exceeded expectations. I think there is a big move of South African customers onto online as they're experiencing the great pricing and the convenience that comes with online. We're seeing that shift, and we're still. It depends on whose estimate you believe, but we're still potentially in single-digit numbers of what part of retail is online when you compare it to some of the other countries. And so there's a lot of room for growth. But I'm one of those optimistic South Africans. This is a great country with some amazing people, amazing skills, and we think long-term about it. We've only just begun in this journey. There's a long way to go still.
Robert Koen is the head of Amazon in Sub-Saharan Africa. I'm Alec Hogg from biznews.com.